it's incredible to see him back on the bench for this evening's game. It'd be a small bit concerning, to be honest with you, looking at that South Africa A game, the physicality. Will his body hold up? I suppose time will tell, and we'll see how he goes in the game this evening.
Not trying to be cynical, Sean, but does an opposition player not just test the shoulder early doors?
100%. And coming up against the South Africans, there's going to be no sterner test, really. I was wincing sometimes on my couch at the physicality of that game on Wednesday, and there's no better test, I'd say, going in for that game next weekend.
James, did that shock the Lions a bit, you think, that intensity that Sean's talking about there of the A performance the other day?
I think it did, John, to be honest. I think it's going to benefit them, though, in the long run. I think you see the games they played before, that they were just so tame and they weren't really tested physically, and they were in control of them from the start to finish, really. So it was very lucky, I think, that Rassie put out such a strong South African A side. Like, it was pretty much a test side, and it was pretty much a test. And I might have given that little kick up the backside to go, actually, the intensity levels need to be picked up here, and the physicality really needs to be there. And instead of it being a first test where they're 1-0 down and chasing it, and they go, right, we have to raise it again, it's actually just gone before them. So every player's now been snapped into it and go, right, this is the level we're at and we really need to raise it. That's
a good point, James, because Nick Popple was saying that if you lose the first test, it's very hard to come back and win the series, and they've had their wake-up call. There's no excuses almost in a way. There were deficiencies the other day in the breakdown and in kicking, especially in the first half, James. Are these things that can be easily sorted out ahead of next Saturday in Cape Town?
I think so, yeah. And I think if you take that game as that kind of one-off, there was a little bit of kind of erratic kicking, which you wouldn't expect. I suppose Conor Murray's come under a bit of pressure, as he seems to do when he doesn't have the best game. I suppose Alan Wing coming back in now, he's regained captaincy, and you can see Gatland's kind of stoked the fire a small bit with Ali Price is playing extremely well. Personally, I don't see he's going to change that, but I think that Conor Murray perhaps just needs to be a small bit more accurate with his kicking. He's so good with it naturally, but you kick loosely to that South African back three, and you can see like the likes of Chelsea and Colby and how dangerous he is, and he set up on the tries, and that was an Ellie Daly kick. When they do kick into backfield, they're just going to have to be a lot smarter, because you do kick loosely to that back three, and they'll certainly run it back, because you take that game again and it's the opportunities that were there from loose play on both sides, and that's when I think the Lions as well, they look dangerous. If South Africa kick loose, the Lions have a great back three that can certainly counter. So it's got to be a smarter game, and they really need to step up physically as well.
I'm wondering if the pressure of the captaincy was any way swirling around Murray's head. Did you see any kind of correlation between that and his performance?
No, I don't think so, to be honest. Conor's one of those guys who just, look, he's not going to be talking loads. He's going to play his natural game. There's enough talkers around there. There's obviously Alan Wynne has something about him that he will talk beforehand and has that pillar out in the field. But I think it's actually going to suit Conor Murray now that he can just get on with his game. Doesn't need to worry about what's going on and the kind of the rigmarole you do before a game and all the press, and Conor can just get his head down now and focus on his job at hand, and it might relieve a bit of stress, and I think that can be to the benefit of the Lions.
The Irish lads that are on the fringes, Sean Cronin, of getting into this test team, Tadhg Beirne possibly on the greater than 50% chance of getting in, Ian Henderson probably not now, Bundy Aki maybe, Jack Conan trying to stake his claim. Where do you see the Irish lads that are not, say, Tadhg Furlong in the pecking order at the moment?
Well, I was kind of going through my maybe possible test team for next weekend, and I suppose the back row is so competitive, but I think Tadhg Beirne has a fantastic opportunity today. He's gone really well in the tour so far in the warm-up game against Japan, so he's a big opportunity today to try and maybe nail down that sixth spot. That's where I think he'll probably have his best chance of getting in. I don't think Ian Henderson is out of the running at all yet. I have Ian Henderson down to start in the first test because I don't think that Alan Wynne-Jones is going to be fit. And then I think Bundy Aki has a very good chance as well. I just think it's going to come down to whether Gatland is going to go for more of a maybe ball playing 12. Not saying that Bundy can't do that. I think he can do that, but maybe he could go bigger at 10 and Farrell at 12 with Henshaw at 13. So, outside of the nailed-on starters of maybe, I think Tig is obviously, I think Conor Murray is definitely a nailed-on starter. So, Jack Cronin again, big opportunity today. So everyone is still in the running here. So that's why this game is very interesting this evening.
And Robbie Henshaw back in there as well, and he kind of, I suppose, out of sight, out of mind with that hamstring niggle. It's important that he just shows that he's right, that he's back at full fitness, doesn't he? Because he should be in the team next week if that's the case, Sean.
Yeah, 100%. I think sometimes in these tours, and you pick up a niggle like that, you're sent on your way, But I think it's the calibre that Robbie's held in over there. He's had an unbelievable season for Leinster and for Ireland. So he was kept on basically to get himself right, to prove himself this evening that he's fit and ready to go for next weekend. Huge player, can play 12 or 13, and he's had a smashing season. He's in great form. So again, he's in there to see, can he get through the game this evening leading into next week.
Do you get the sense, Sean, that Robbie and Tig Furlong and Jack Cronin are enjoying it out there?
I'd say they are. I'd say it's an incredible setup to be part of. I know they're incredibly restricted in how they can move around or what they can even do, which is a shame because, I've talked to a few of the guys that went down there in 2009. Luke Fitzgerald and Keith Earls, and said it was one of the best experiences of their life touring South Africa on a Lions tour. So I've been on to a couple of the guys. They say it's a bit restrictive, but they're doing the best they can and seem to be having a good time.
How are they keeping themselves occupied,
There's a lot of dodgy golf being played, I think. Even Tig is taking it up, so that can tell you there's not much to do. But playing a bit of golf and finding different ways around the team room to keep themselves busy when they're not training or recovering.
You a golfer, Sean?
A very suspect golfer, but I try my best.
Very good, very good. And how in camp do you generally, bond and keep yourselves busy and keep yourselves sane? So if you're in any way, in any kind of bubble with your province or with your country?
I suppose you just got to, you look to your events committee to see what they can pull out of the bag. Quiz nights or coffee clubs or these types of things to just try and keep guys' minds ticking over when they're away, especially in the times we live in currently that it's so restricted. But it's basically just trying to have the bit of crack and keep guys sane so that you have the training, you have the relaxation, and you have the bit of crack as well.
We were speaking, James Downey, to Nick Popplewell and Mick Galway on the panel earlier about the 93 tour, probably the last great amateur tour where you could have a few pints, you could switch off, and it was probably part of the culture back then. Not the case for professional rugby players to any extent. How did you manage to blend into any kind of province or Northampton or any kind of camp when it came to managers in yourself between games?
Well, I wouldn't say now I would have missed the amateur era. There was certainly some good team bonding sessions. I think it was always essential to have those, and I think that's a massive thing that the Lions are missing out on. You go out together, like Sean was talking about. You have your quiz nights and their kind of table tennis room and the stuff on, and lads playing Xbox or PlayStations or whatever. But it was always a great bonder to get everyone together, especially the different nations, that you kind of go out, have a few pints, and you talk to different people, and you're changing roommates the whole time. And it's a massive thing to get everyone together, especially given you've only a couple of weeks before you play. Like, there's 1 week to go now until there's a proper test match against South Africa. And sometimes those old school values can come into it, and I really believe that because the Lions have been around for so long, that type of bonding is going to be missed out a little bit. But look, they're professional players, as you said, John, and they're just going to have to get on with it. Look, and I'm sure they'll let their hair down at the end of it. I haven't probably been on the road, some of them, for over a year. It's been a long old season. But there's always a time and a place, and look, hopefully they can get a win and they can go out and celebrate.
Sean, do you think the tension will then just naturally ratchet up? Can you feel tension in the air ahead of a major game, which we have next Saturday in Cape Town?
Yeah, I think some of the big games I've played in over the years, I suppose I'll never forget the lead up to the Grand Slam game in Twickenham. Just the buzz and the sense of anticipation, I suppose. And I suppose it's probably similar to what the guys are going through over there. I suppose, there was a massive game on Wednesday night against a South African side, and all but name, really. And that kind of got the juices flowing, I suppose, to really kick the tour off. So game tonight, and then it's building up into a huge week for that first test. I've seen quite a lot of stuff in the media and from pundits and whatever saying that, if the Lions don't win that first test, it could be game over. So it really is a huge match next weekend.
One of the biggest days in Irish rugby history, that game at Twickenham, winning on Patrick's Day, the Grand Slam. We beat France and England away. Were there things in hindsight that we did right in the build-up in that week in camp, Sean, that you reflected upon and said, yeah, we got that right, we did this thing correctly?
I suppose thinking back now, I think Joe Schmidt, he took the pressure off in a way, I suppose, by saying at times, I suppose, we're thinking that there was so much at stake, but he did such a good job of building down the pressure that week and saying that, there's nothing really to lose going over here, when we had a lot to lose, I suppose, at the same time. So the preparation was very, very good. Everyone is so dialed in. I think it's the most dialed in of a squad I've ever been in. I think everyone knew what they had to do, and I suppose you could see by the performance on the day, it was a special day, and I think everybody got it right.
The South Africans the other day, I was kind of feeling, they'll be undercooked. They haven't played much James for a couple of years, but wasn't the case. They were physically very strong. Their defence was good. Actually, their indiscipline was an issue that we didn't really capitalise upon. But we're going to face the full South Africa, I think, in these three tests. Is that right to say?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you look at that side and you see that they still have some of the players in kind of quarantine or away from the squad who have to come back in, and it's just going to bolster that squad. You look at that A team and go, that's pretty much a test team, and they're going to bring in some bigger players as well. So when you play South Africa, it's always going to be a massively physical game, and I just think that it's given the Lions that little taster of the series that's around the corner, but they'll be coming full metal jacket. And you can see what's been going on in the media all week, and even Rassie Erasmus taken to Twitter to call out Warren Gatland, and the mind games are starting. And it really has picked up since the last week. I think it was kind of slowly pitching along, and you hadn't thought about it too much because there's no crowds, and then there's what games will go ahead, what won't. And then all of a sudden that A game just kicked it all off, and you really feel like we're on a tour here now, and this is really Lions territory now, and this is going to be one of those games. And when you have Rasmus running on as his water boy, carrying one small bottle of water, he's just adds to it, it adds to the every little intricity of it all. And I think that it's going to be a super series, and everything you expect from South Africa, they certainly didn't let it down. You saw that in that game. They have no regard for their body and what happens. They leave everything out there. They throw everything into breakdowns. And when someone comes off, another bigger lad comes on, and that's the way it is. And the Lions are just going to have to have gotten used to that physicality, and South Africa certainly won't let them wanting.
It's kind of a confidence and a cockiness about Rassie there, going on Twitter of all platforms and picking up on what Warren Gatland said. It's a man who's not scared of what's coming forward. Why would he be after the World Cup?
No, exactly. And I think that's exactly it. And the way Gatland is beforehand, he has all these mind games, and he comes out in the press and it's taking the pressure off his players, perhaps, maybe he should have got red, maybe not, and just getting into the ref here in a small percentage. No one kind of talks too much about what's going on with the players then. And yeah, it's quite interesting, and it's kind of quite refreshing as well that he didn't hide behind anything, and he came out and said, well, what about these two Owen Farrell challenges, and put up video evidence of it as well, just supposed to kind of level it back. If you're going to throw a jab, I'll certainly throw one back, and it just heightens it, and it's bringing it to the boil. And I think I think today for the players, we've spoken about that kind of unity and going in physicality and stuff going into next week, but today's going to be a little bit different as I see it for the players. I think that they, in their own heads, they got to do individual things, because they're going to try and get themselves in a test game, in a test side, as opposed to just trying to win the game today. So it's like, do we play as a team, or do I go out as an individual and try and do something to stand out here? And that's the balance they're going to have to get right. But going back to that about Rassie and Warren, it just adds petrol to the fire.
It's funny stuff. The front row, the scrum, how did you feel it went the other day, Sean?
I thought it went very well. I thought that was one area possibly of closer dominance that the Lions had throughout the game. And, it's going to be such a huge part of the game next week. I think if Vunipola goes well today, I know he's on the bench if he comes on. I think his ceiling is higher compared to the rest of the loose heads. I think all the loose heads are going quite well, but when he's in top form, he's a really good player. Tyga's coming in today again, so I thought it was an area of strength last weekend, but they have a couple of guys to come back in. Bongi Umbanambi, I think I got the pronunciation right there, at hooker, and Mal Herb, who were there starting 2 and 3 at the World Cup. So they have some quality players to come back in, but I thought overall the scrum was definitely an area of strength.
Jamie George, Ken Owens, have you got a preference at the moment for number 2, Sean?
I think that Luke Cowan-Dickey even is in the mix there. I thought he came on the last day, is really physical, looks very, very hungry at the moment and playing well. So yeah, I have it down as a question mark in the possible team for next week. I think if Luke Cowan-Dickey goes well today, it's got to be a really tough choice. I think he might go with Ken Owens, but it could go either way.
How do we stop someone like Colby in the series, James? Because he's got the X factor that I didn't really see the other night behind the scrum for the Lions.
Well, you just have to be extremely smart in how you play and how you manipulate that backfield. I think with Gregor Townsend, who was in isolation in Joburg, you missed out on your attack coach, and Gregor's certainly one of these students of the game that will learn how to isolate and how not to have to kick as badly. You saw, I mentioned earlier on about the Ellie Daly kick, it was just loose. The ball was brought back into the 22. It was loose, and you can't kick loose. And if you do, you're going to have to get a chase. And that brings me back to Conor Murray again. If you are kicking it, you've got to give it to him, jumping up in the air, but with competition around him, with players around him, so he doesn't have that opportunity to actually get on a run. And it's just about being smart and manipulating that field. Look, you can keep the ball away from an attack when South Africa have it, but you've just got to do as much as you can to limit that space that he has, because you saw what he can do. He's like a Jordan Larmour, probably even. It'd be interesting to have the two of them having a step off, but I just think that he just has something at the moment that he's miles ahead of everyone, and you've got to take out these X Factor players, and he's certainly one that can change the game in an instant. And sometimes it only takes one incident, and he's one of those players where Lions certainly have to be wary of.
James, is Owen Farrell in danger of missing out now on test starts because of the fact that he's been playing in the championship? He looked a bit off the other night. The position is bigger fish. We don't know. Is Finn Russell fit? What's the deal with the number 10 position? It's a little bit of a tricky situation at the moment with Owen Farrell and what position he will be in, and Bundy's pressing for a centre position as well.
Yeah, massively so. And that's like beforehand, I'm sure you would have looked at people's Lions teams and Farrell might have been a shoe-in, and it's like, well, geez, you put him in a 10, where do you fit him in? Because you have to have him in there. And like, he just hasn't set the world alight. And I think freshness-wise, I would have thought he would have been fresher, like having played in that championship. He might have just not had, like, maybe he's just a little bit off, and he's just trying to get up as quick as he can. But I think physicality in there. Do you go with Bundy and Robbie in there? I think Chris Harris has done extremely well. And he surprised me. He jumped out there. I didn't think he was going to have too much of an impact, but he certainly did. And Farrell just needs a bit of luck, I think. I think he'll be doing extremely well. I think you'll have him on the bench because he can cover and he has that versatility. And I think versatility on that bench is going to be massive. And he has that small bit more physicality that you'll get with a Finn Russell. I don't expect Finn Russell to be back in contention next week. If he's got the ankle knock, and he'd be doing well to get back with that. But Farrell just has that kind of leadership ability, I think, that will edge him in there. Whether he starts or not, I'm not sure, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see who he picks in that midfield slot.
3 English players that did perform the other night, Sean, were Tom Curry, Anthony Watson and Maro Itoje.
Yeah, really like the look of Tom Curry on Wednesday night. He kind of ticks all the boxes, really. He can carry, ferocious at the breakdown. And I like him to be starting next week. I think he's a super player. I told you, had one of his best games I've seen him have in a long time. Very disciplined, which he's been lacking now for a while. And when I watch him play for England, I'm just going to be tearing my hair out, just saying, just if he could just be more disciplined, he'd be an incredible player. And Anthony Watson again, I think there's a doubt over his fitness. So he's had 2 really good games in a row. That's why I think partnering up with Toje and Henderson, if Alan Wynne-Jones isn't fully fit, it's a great combination. I think they mix off each other really well. As long as Toje stays disciplined, because he could easily get up to 7-8 penalties by himself in a game if he gets out of control.
James, what do you see in terms of the wingers at the moment? It's not an easy. Liam Williams gone off the other day. Josh Adams has been amazing. You'd have to think on form, he's the person with the ball in his hands that knows where the try line is at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with that. I think you always get a little bolter coming into it. Again, you would have come into this having a look at your line squad. Who would we pick? Who would go in there? I don't think Josh Adams would have been the top of many people's lists, but he's on fire and he's on form. If you're going on form, you certainly have to pick him. And then Anthony Watson, dependent on injury, I think he's been extremely good in everything he's done. He chases them kicks extremely well, which is so important against the box. Van der Merwe is an interesting one. Again, depending how you want to play. If you want to bring that physical winger to come in, he knows how to finish as well. And do you need that little bit? Like, Gatland wants to play physical. If he's going to play physical midfield, I think Van der Merwe, if he has a good game today, could shoe himself in there. But you're leaving out some quality players. I thought Reece Zammit played extremely well the last day and was unlucky not to score in the corner, but plenty of pace. But at the moment, I'd kind of go with the wingers that are starting tonight. And even with the back, I'd go Stuart Hogg has got to produce something, I think. He's been unlucky that he's had to sit back in Joburg as well and sit in his room, but I think he really needs to have a big game again. I do think he'll start, and I do think this will be the back three, which is pretty exciting, but there's still quality players that are going to miss out.
Okay, we're going to hear from James Downey and Sean Cronin picking their teams for the first test with Neil Tracy after the break. Just earlier on in hurling, we Clare beating Wexford by 225 to 222, Waterford defeating Laois 323 to 221. Let's hear now from the Wexford manager, Davy Fitzgerald, speaking to the press after Wexford's defeat. He spoke about the disrespect he felt was shown to him and his family in this last year.
Look, Dave, you must be proud the way they came back from such a difficult start.
Listen, I'm extremely proud of them. Anything I asked them boys to do, they'll do it. We probably stayed in Wexford for the first 15 minutes and give them 12 points or 11 points for a start. And Clare played some great stuff, but we let them attack the ball. We stood off them. And if you stand off Clare, they're going to hurt you. But many teams would have wilted. We didn't wilt. And I thought we controlled a big part of the game after that, so we did. So I'm extremely proud of the lads. And to be totally honest, I have nothing but admiration for the Clare crew, and I wish them the best going on from here.
Your own recovery from the extra time against Kilkenny, both physically and mentally, I mean, it came through in that comeback.
Yeah, no, we've no complaints. We lost 2 games. Could we have won them? We could have won them. We didn't. And we've nothing but say fair play to Clare.
Dave, you were saying last year that you didn't leave because you didn't want to leave it the way it did, and we're not going to answer that question yet. But these are 2 good games your side's played, and it wasn't like last year where you left it behind you, or it wasn't like last year where you didn't turn up on the day. Just 2 results that didn't quite go for you on the day.
Oh, I thought we played actually good enough stuff. I'm just very disappointed with the first 15 minutes. I know if we played the first 15 minutes, trust me, you've seen what Wexford are like. A lot of teams would have let 12 points. Mm-hmm. We would have been right there, and we were actually right there. The soft goal we give away at the end, I felt we were going to stick one in the net down there. It was only a matter of time, and we did, but it was just that bit too late, But the heart and the spirit, that's what the GA is about. And I'll tell you something, lads. I've experienced the toughest year I've ever experienced in GA. The way myself and my family have been treated is an absolute and utter disgrace. And the way I felt probably all week, I didn't even know if I wanted to come into this game, to tell you the truth. And I'll put it to you like this. In Clare, the biggest problem we have is a small bunch of people that create problems. They think they're helping and they're not. And I'm going to put it to you like this. Very, very, very simply. I'm a simple person that loves GA. I think I've one of the most ever played for Clare GA. My dad, who I'm extremely proud of, has done an unbelievable job. The amount of abuse and stick and criticism he has taken unwarranted is not justified. And can I say it to people? People have brothers and sisters, mums and dads. People have people that actually care about them. And what people in the media in Clare have done is absolutely disgusting. What people in social media have done is disgusting. What one or two clubs have done, instead of looking at themselves and how they can make their things better, they've tried to pull us into a place that we don't need to be. But can I say the amount of support that I've got from within 90% of Clare clubs is absolutely incredible. And it's only the few. We need to stop. We need to work together. And I'd put it to you this way. People said to me, would you ever talk to Brian Lohan again or any of this? I'll tell you straight out, straight for the sake of Clare, 110%. If someone got a meeting with me and Brian Lohan in the morning, I'd do it. I mightn't like Brian Lohan and I mightn't have much time for him and the way he does stuff. He'd have the same for me. But we shouldn't be at each other in Clare. If Clare to succeed, they all need to be together. And I'm saying it straight now. Would I put it to bed? I'd stand up in the morning and I'd go talk to anyone and I'd shake hands and I'd put it to bed 110%. I don't want Clare to be fighting with one another. I think we need to have a good hard look at ourselves in Clare and stop that. I hear the other night the first thing they'll do is blame the county board for stuff. Easy target again. We need to stop that. We need to stop that. I see people that can get on keyboards and do stuff. Have they ever gone down the field? Have they ever worked with their clubs? Have they ever done stuff? We need to get a grip in Clare to do 110%, and we need to work together. And I'll just bring it back. We all have families. We all have to get up in the morning, and it hurts so much when your family is taken care of. But I'm proud. I am proud of my family. And let me say this, 99% of Clare people are incredible people. The clubs of Clare are incredible. The few people that are creating the trouble, stop. Just stop and work together. And I can tell you 110%, me and my family will absolutely support Clare to the last. So we will. When I was a young bride growing up, watching Father Harry's teams in the late 70s, I absolutely loved them and idolised them. So my dream was to play for Clare, and all I ever wanted to do was play for my own county. So it was, and I loved them with all my heart. It is not right. It is not right what's been done. It is not right. A bit of respect and people to stop with their egos and working together is more important. And I would encourage that to anyone, 110%, to work together. And I mean it 110%. I would talk in the morning to end everything. I don't want to talk about any more of that again, but there is lies and stuff that was said early on the year that me and my family are very upset about. That will all come to roost very soon, okay? Guys, I'm finished now. I'd like to thank you for your courtesy, thank you for everything, okay? So what? I'm going to leave it at that, and I want to wish you all the best, okay?
You'd have to think after that interview that David Fitzgerald will be stepping down as Wexford senior hurling manager. Not confirmed, but I think the interview said a lot. Very strong words from the former Clare manager, the former Clare goalkeeper, the 6 Mile Bridge man, about the ructions in Clare, the tensions that have existed. His dad, Pat Fitzgerald, the secretary of the county board, and lending an olive branch in that interview to Brian Lohan, the Clare manager. They don't obviously get on. That's pretty obvious. Clare beat Wexford today in the championship, eliminating the Yellow Bellies. 225 for Clare, 222 for Wexford. Waterford also through 325 to Laois's 221. A lot more to come. Analysis and debate around what David Fitzgerald just said there. Armagh and Monaghan are playing in the Ulster Senior Football Championship semi-final. Monaghan leading at the moment by 4 goals and 6 points to 11 points. So 4 goals for Monaghan and 6 points. So they're leading now by 7 points over Armagh 11 points in Uri. We got an update from Paddy Talley after the break on that. Also continuing our build-up with Neil Tracy, Sean Cronin and James Downey to the Lions game against the Stormers in Cape Town. Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk is back after this.
Rugby on Off the Ball
with Vodafone, lead partner of the British and Irish Lions.
Screen Time.
This week on Screen Time, I talked to feisty English comedian and actor Nick Helm, star of the cult BBC show Uncle, about his new movie Giddy Stratospheres. Mark Ryle is here with all the week's new releases, including The Forever Purge and The Waterman on Netflix. Plus food critic and jolly foodie Tom Durley on his favourite movie.
Screen Time with John Fardy.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now or tune in this evening at the later time of 9 p.m.
On News Talk.
You're at the edge of the world, atop a mountainous cliffside trail on the Causeway coastal route, with an everlasting horizon stretching out to sea beyond. Behind you, the ruins of Dunluce Castle. Below you, gigantic crashing waves. You think, we're never going to forget a view like this. Sure, if we want, we could be back up next weekend. Book your next family getaway at discovernorthernireland.com. Northern Ireland, a small step to a giant adventure.
When planning and visiting, please check visitor guidelines and opening times with individual providers. Always follow current COVID-19 travel restrictions. Available at nidirect.gov.uk.
Here at Eurocycleseurobaby.com, we hope you and your family are keeping safe. We wanted to let you know we are back and fully stocked. No annoying jingles this time, just plenty of bikes. Open 7 days a week, our stores on the Long Mile Road and Airside Swords have everything you need, from commuter bikes to electric bikes, kids bikes and more. We're also fully stocked for all things baby. Check out the range and shop online at Eurocycleseurobaby.com.
Ireland is recovering from the pandemic due to the huge efforts and solidarity of the Irish people with a safe and gradual reopening of our economy and society. From July 19th, new COVID-19 advice and rules will come into effect for international travel. And here are 5 important things to bear in mind. 1. Make sure that you check gov.ie/travel for the most up-to-date international travel advice for the country you are planning to visit. 2. Be certain that you fully understand the quarantine rules that will apply when you return to Ireland. 3. Check your passport. If it is out of date, you can use Passport Online for renewal. 4. The digital COVID certificate will help you move freely and safely within the EU. It will be available to people who have been fully vaccinated or who have recovered from COVID-19 in the preceding 180 days or have had a negative COVID test. 5. Infection rates around the world can result in rapid changes to the rules, so be careful about where you plan to go. Use your judgment about the risk of infection and take all sensible precautions. For all the details on international travel, please visit gov.ie/travel. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
In the Power City Summer Sale, get up to €100 worth of free fruit and veg when you buy a Beko Harvest Fridge Freezer this June or July. For more information, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
Hi, I'm Liam Neeson. If you have been vaccinated, you can now give a vaccine to someone in need. UNICEF is currently delivering 2 billion vaccines to the poorest countries. So if you get a vaccine, please give a vaccine by going to unicef.ie today. Thank you.
The new Dunn Stores app puts better value at your fingertips, so you'll never miss out on savings. Your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers are always just a swipe away. You can also track and earn Value Club points and browse our latest grocery offers. And when you download it today, you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. So all you need to do is grab your phone and start saving. The new Dunn Stores app, available now wherever you get your apps. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
Baby Alex's parents were worried.
We knew that something wasn't quite right. Milestones that he wasn't hitting.
A call was made.
VHI Paediatric Clinic. It was exactly what we needed when we needed it. They were fantastic.
The VHI consultant recommended immediate physio and speech therapy and arranged the next step in his treatment.
Met with the neurologist, got a diagnosis, cerebral palsy.
Now the path ahead looks clearer.
VHI gave us the support and the right level of care. Whatever he wants to do, it isn't going to hold Alex back.
This is Christine.
And I'm glad I'm with VHI Healthcare.
The featured customer has received gratuity for their time in making this commercial. Plan benefit limits, waiting periods, terms and conditions apply. VHI Healthcare DAC trading as VHI Healthcare is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to VHI Insurance DAC for health insurance in Ireland.
Rugby on Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, lead partner of the British and Irish Lions.
Welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 8 because we got commentary of the Lions against the Stormers in the final warm-up game from Cape Town. Neil Tracy and James Downey providing commentary from 5. An extraordinary interview with Davy Fitzgerald, hitting out at what he felt was the lack of respect towards him and his family over the last year. You can check that out on the OTB Sports website, otbsports.com, and on our digital channels at Off the Ball on Twitter. Remarkable interview. Just to give you some scores from the Ladies Football Championship, Mayo beat Monaghan in a shootout. It finished 12 points apiece after extra time in Ballinamoor. That was in Group 1, Round 2. In Group 2, Round 2, Cork comprehensive winners over Tipperary, 6-14 to 110 at Sean Tracy Park. Dublin, the champions, have beaten Waterford 6-12 to 110 in Baltinglass. In Group 3, Round 2, a latest score from Markievicz Park. It's Donegal 1-6, Galway 4 points. How are they getting on up in Newry? Paddy Tally is at Armagh against Monaghan.
Yeah, just on it there. 34 minutes gone here, and the score is 13 points. Armagh, 4 goals and 7 to Monaghan. It's been an incredible first half of football. Very, very open. Really, the story of Jack McCarn. He scored a goal. He's put 2 and 6 for other players. He's having an incredible game inside and full forward. And Monaghan really are in a very good position now. Playing with a slight breeze in the first half, but all looking well for them.
Okay, so Monaghan leading there in that match. Neil Tracy, Sean Cronin and James Downey with us ahead of the Lions. Our coverage brought to you by Vodafone. Neil, I'm going to start with you. If you're going to pick your front row for next week's first test, have you decided on your 1, 2 and your 3?
Well, I've written it down on the page in front of me, John. I don't know how absolutely married I am to it because there's a couple of selections in there that absolutely are really tough. Obviously, the easy one is Tadhg Furlong is starting a tight head prop. I would say you could canvass 500-600 different Lions fans, pundits, whoever's, and I would say at least 599 of them are probably going to be saying it's Tadhg Furlong starting a tight head prop. But over on like loose head prop, for example, I think it's absolutely blown wide open, and there are genuine cases for all 3 of those players to be starting next Saturday afternoon against the Springboks in Cape Town. We'll start with Rory Sutherland. I'll start with Wyn Jones. He's the person I have put down. If I was to be picking a Lions team for next week, I just think he's been so consistent throughout the season, and not just on the tour as well, but he's been brilliant for Wales throughout. Played every game for Wales during the Six Nations. He was excellent. I thought he was absolutely excellent from the start on Wednesday night. I thought he was one of the Lions players that really, really stood up. Scored his try early in the second half. Probably should have had another one towards the tail end of the first half, but it was held up. The problem, though, is that coming into Wednesday night's game, I probably had Rory Sutherland ahead of him, and then I'd Wyn Jones probably second in the pecking order, and I actually would have had Maka Vunipola down in third, but Maka Vunipola came on for Wyn Jones the other night, and I would say probably actually had his best game in at least 12 months. He also has the Lions experience going with him. This is his 17th game as a Lion today if he comes off the bench. He's played all 6 tests in his 2 previous tours so he has so much test match experience for the Lions. And in those 34 minutes that he played on Wednesday night against the South African A side, he was immense. Only 2 players across the entire 80 minutes had more tackles than Maka Vunipola had in his 34 minutes. He was absolutely everywhere, and he's put himself right back into the mix. And I know Sean Cronin earlier on was saying he'd have him probably as his starting loosehead prop. I wouldn't really be too surprised, but I just about am leaning towards Wyn Jones. The other thing with Rory Sutherland is he seems to have been paired off with Tadhg Furlong across all of these games, that a lot of the props seem to have been playing together in pods of 2. And Rory Sutherland and Tadhg Furlong have consistently been playing together throughout this tour. And if I have it correct as well, I think they're actually the only 2 props that have started alongside each one of the 3 hookers as well. After today, with a pair of them starting with Luke Cowan-Dickey in the front row this afternoon. So that probably gives you an indication that Warren Gatland likes the combination of Rory Sutherland and Tadhg Furlong as well. So it's really, really close. I'm just about leaning towards Wyn Jones. At hooker, I'd probably be saying Jamie George. But as Sean was saying as well with Luke Cowan-Dickey, he was excellent the other night as well. Came off the bench on Wednesday, had 6 carries and 8 tackles in just 28 minutes of action. So he really, really threw himself about on Wednesday evening. And if he has a good game this afternoon, he's right in that mix as well.
Just going to let you know about the Open. Louis Westhuizen 11 under par. Jordan Spieth's gone to 10 under, 1 shot back. Mark Howell's dropped to 8 under. Shane Lowry still 4 under par. Rory McIlroy finishing on 1 under. Padraig Harrington ending up on 3 over par. So just to confirm, your front 3 for the test next week, Sean Cronin?
I'll go a slightly different route compared to Neil. I'm going to stick with Vunipola. I think he's starting to come back into a bit of form. Like I said, I think his ceiling is higher. I think Wyn Jones has had a really, really solid, good 12 months. But I'm going to go with Vunipola. I'm going to go with Ken Owens at hooker with Cowan Dickey off the bench. And of course, I think Tig is nailed on. I think that would be 600 people, Neil, out of 600 that will probably go for Tig.
I was trying to be impartial and give them that one person who might disagree.
We're Irish here. We don't do impartial.
I know.
James Cronin, your front three. Sorry, James Downey. I'm going on 3 weeks. I'm going on 3 weeks holidays in 17 minutes time. That's the reason I said that. So James Downey, sorry.
John. You're fine. But look, I've never seen so much analysis for a loose head proposition.
That's
Neil. From Neil there, but yeah. But for me, it's. Look, coming in, I was looking at Sutherland. I thought that he'd been the foreign player coming in, and then I was extremely surprised by Wyn Jones, and then Vunipola's taken on the mantle as well. So I'm going to go with Vunipola actually to start. He's not going to last the whole game, and then I think it's a toss-up then between Sutherland and Jones. I think he might go Jones, just because one, he's Welsh, and I think he's been very, very good in what he's done. I agree with Sean then on the hooker position. I've Luke Cowan-Dickey and I've Ken Owens, but I suppose he's going to start with his all reliable Ken Owens, and then agreeing with everyone in the country, and it's Tig to start.
Your second row, Neil?
My second row, I think Maro Itoje, for most people anyway, is probably the lock selection. Alan Wyn Jones, I'm kind of torn on it. Listening to the lads earlier on, I think it was Sean who might have said that you wouldn't be surprised if Alan Wyn Jones wasn't starting next week, and I'm probably leaning towards that, simply because they don't need to play Alan Wyn Jones next week, because second row is one of those positions where they actually have ample amount of choices, and I'm probably actually leaning towards the partner Maro Itoje. I'm leaning towards Adam Beard, who came on off the bench on Wednesday night and had a huge impact on disrupting the South Africa A maul, which is going to be a huge weapon for the Springboks and has been over the World Cup in 2019 as well. And I just think Adam Beard excels in a lot of the areas that can cancel out what South Africa do brilliantly. So I'm leaning towards him to start next week. I wouldn't be surprised though if Ian Henderson snuck in, and I don't think we're going to see Alan Wyn Jones starting next week though. Because they just don't need him to be there. I would say maybe second or third test Alan Wyn Jones, if it's right there in the mix. I think he's going to come in, but it just feels like a big risk to take to be starting someone so soon out from a dislocated shoulder.
Sean Cronin, your second row is?
I will go with Itoje and Henderson. Yeah, I think Neil is spot on. Adam Beard did have a huge impact, especially around the line-out maul disruption, which is going to be a huge weapon for the South Africans. And I thought the Lions did really, really well in that department as well. So, he could have snuck into the 23, but I don't think he's done enough to start. So I'll stick with Itoje and Henderson, with Alan Wyn Jones not making it.
Okay, and just I'm conscious we're against the clock here a little bit. James Downey, your second row and your back row, please.
Okay, I'll go Itoje and Wyn Jones come in. I'd actually just start Wyn Jones, just to be a little bit controversial. Start him. If he gets injured, you can take him off anyway. And for Courtney Laws, I think even though he's a 6 more, so he could offer something. But yeah, no, simple enough. Back row. Faletau at 8. I just think the physicality he brings. Tom Curry's played himself into that number 7 position, even though I think Hamish Watson has been superb. And then the 6. I think the 6 is up in the air, and I think it's a great chance for Tig Byrne today to try and stamp it. So I go with Tig, Tom Curry and Faletau.
Your back row is Sean Cronin?
Tom Curry at 6, Hamish Watson at 7 and Faletau at 8. But I have Tig Byrne, big question mark today. If he goes well, I think he could force his way in at 6 and move Tom Curry to 7 with Watson on the bench.
And Neil, your back 3 in the back row are?
Be similar enough to James Downey. I think Tom Curry at 7. I think Taulupe Faletau is going to start at 8. I would actually really love to see Jack Cronin starting at 8 though, because I think he's brought so much in every game he's played so far. He's generally been the carry, like leading in the carries and right up there on the tackle count as well in every game he's played so far. And I think if he has a good day this afternoon, he could give Warren Gatland something to think about. But I like, gun to my head, I'd probably be saying Faletau will start. And then at 6, along with what the two fellas said there, I think if Tadhg Beirne has a really, really good game today, he has a great chance of being picked. But just with the way the selections have gone, I feel that Gatland might be going towards Courtney Lawes, because Lawes isn't playing today. He didn't play on Wednesday night, and he had been performing quite well earlier on in the tour. It's just making me think maybe that Gatland is actually just trying to keep him fresh for next week, would be, me trying to read what Gatland is thinking.
Okay, let's just zip through the backs then. James Downey, who do you want to see from positions number 9 to 15?
Right, perfect. It's nice and easy for you, John. Conor Murray, Dan Biggar, Van der Merwe. Midfield is the only kind of question mark. Owen Farrell and Robbie Henshaw, I reckon. Josh Adams and Stuart Hogg. I just think that's the settled side.
And for you, Sean Cronin, who would you like to see behind the scrum?
Similar enough to Jimmy there. I reckon it'll be Murray, Biggar. I'm going to say Farrell, but I think it could be Aki as well. Henshaw 13, Van der Merwe, Anthony Watson and Liam Williams at fullback.
And Neil, Van der Merwe, a popular choice behind the scrum. What do you think at the moment, and what do you see could happen? I suppose we all have our predictions and who we want to see, our preferences for, but who do you think Warren Gatland's always going to pick as well was probably more important?
Yeah, I don't think Van der Merwe is going to start next week in the test. I'm thinking Josh Adams and Anthony Watson will be on the wings. I think Stuart Hogg is going to play at fullback next week. Conor Murray and Dan Biggar in the half-backs. That's a full house of selections from the three of us. And I think in midfield, I think we're actually going to see the centre partnership we have today, which is Robbie Henshaw and Elliot Daly. Daly's played more minutes than anyone else so far on the tour, and I think he's been really good, really versatile. Maybe that makes him a 23 shirt. I just think that Owen Farrell's form hasn't been there, and I think he's going to go with Henshaw and maybe Elliot Daly in midfield.
Okay, all these things to think about and discuss over the next few days. We've just done a bit of that there with James Downey, Sean Cronin and Neil Tracy. Sean, thanks for the moment. We're going to get your verdict on this match with Neil after the full-time whistle. Appreciate your time in the last hour. We got commentary of the Lions against the Stormers with Neil and James Downey very shortly. Just to let you know, folks, from the golf at the Open Championship, Louis Westhuizen is 11 under par, leading now by 2. So the South African has played 4 holes of his third round at Royal St George's in Kent. Beautiful weather over there, but we have it here as well, luckily. Jordan Spieth is 9 under par. He's just dropped a shot, so he is through 5. Colin Morikawa is 1 over for his round. He's back to 8 under par. Justin Harding of South Africa is 7 under. Danny Willett of England is 6 under with Mackenzie Hughes, Marcel Siem, Andy Sullivan and Dustin Johnson, who has slipped back. Scotty Scheffler also 6 under par. Dylan Fratelli 6 under par. So we're seeing a bit of a gap emerging between Westhuizen, Spieth, Morikawa, Harding and the pack. Regarding the Irish players in the field, Shane Lowry's dropped a shot now through 13. He's down to 3 under par, but he is best of the Irish at the moment. Rory McIlroy got to 4 under at one stage, but slipped back over the back 9, back to 1 under par, so 2 70s and a 69 for Rory McIlroy. Padraig Harrington is finished on 3 over par for his third round, so he's got work to do in the final day to get himself up the leaderboard, but still a stellar performance to make the cut from the Ryder Cup captain. Earlier on in the hurling, Clare 225, Wexford 222, so Clare through, and Waterford through 323 to Laois's 221. At the moment, at half-time in Ulster, it is Monaghan 4-9, Armagh 14 points in their semi-finals. And Monaghan, with all those goals, have the chance now of booking themselves a place in the final. Commentary of the Lions and the Stormers comes up after this break on Off the Ball Saturday, here on News Talk.
Rugby on Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, lead partner of the British and Irish Lions. This weekend on News Talk, we've got one great prize for you. A 2-night city break in Dublin with the Avant Money One credit card, offering you 0% interest on money transfers for up to 9 months. Find out more and enter now at newstalk.com/money. Avantcard DAC trading as Avant